Today, we're diving into the system of one of music's most prolific producers, a guy who built an entire empire not on being perfect, but on being fast. This is the story of the Kenny Beats rule.
You know, this one idea, it changes everything. It completely flips the script on what we're all taught about how to get good at something. Instead of tweaking and polishing and second-guessing forever, Kenny Beats made a bet on pure, raw momentum. He figured his first gut feeling was way more powerful than his 10th revision. He wasn't just working faster, he built a whole system designed to outrun self-doubt, which, let's be honest, is the biggest creativity killer there is.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the rule itself, fast over perfect. Then, we'll rewind a bit to see the creative prison he had to bust out of to even find this idea. We'll get into his core philosophy, the brilliant and simple dots, and then see how he turned it into a real-deal daily system. From there, we'll check out the legacy he built with his legendary studio The Cave, and definitely stick around, because at the end, we're going to look at how you can take this exact code and apply it to pretty much anything you do.
All right, let's get right into it. This foundational idea, it's not just about, moving your hands quicker. It's a strategic decision. It's about weaponizing momentum.
Just picture this for a second. You're in the studio. Some of the biggest artists in the world are right there watching you. The natural instinct is to try and look like a genius, right? To be perfect? But Kenny's whole approach was the exact opposite. He worked like he was just trying to get an idea down before it vanished into thin air. He wasn't chasing a Grammy, he was chasing that flow state. He built this system of creating fast and then editing slow. And why? Because he figured out that the only thing really standing in your way is your own doubt.
Now, to really get why this was such a huge breakthrough, we have to understand the prison he was escaping from. This whole philosophy wasn't just some clever idea he had one day. It was literally forged in the fire of a total creative burnout. See, before he was the "Whoa, Kenny" guy, Kenneth Bloom was this jazz guitar prodigy at the super prestigious Berklee College of Music. This was a world where music was treated like math. Every single note had to be technically perfect. Then he has this massive success with the EDM group Loudpack. He's touring the world, playing for huge crowds, making millions of dollars, and he said he felt like a complete fraud. So by 2017, he just hits a wall. He walks away from all of it to start over, which meant he had to systematically unlearn every single rule about perfection he'd ever been taught.
And you can really see these two sides of him at war right here. On one hand, his training gave him the tools of an insider. He could create these mathematical masterpieces with total academic rigor, but his heart was always with the outsiders, chasing that raw vibe, that direct connection with an artist. He started to realize that his perfect education had actually become a prison for his creativity. The bigger he got in the EDM world, the less he felt like himself. That burnout wasn't the end of his story. It was the beginning. It was the moment he started building a new philosophy, one without any ego.
And you really can't ignore the emotional side of this. The dude was miserable. To get back to the rap music he actually loved, he had to be okay with starting from absolute zero, walking into a room with an artist who had no clue who he was, and just focusing on the music. He had to tear down his own ego, because he knew that when you're trying to catch a vibe, the producer's ego is the first thing that gets in the way.
So, let's talk about the philosophy that actually rose from the ashes of that burnout. This is where that feeling of being totally stuck transforms into a clear, simple rule for how to create anything.
It's almost aggressively simple, isn't it? DOTS, don't overthink shit. This wasn't just some catchy phrase he put on a t-shirt. This became his North Star. He had this core realization. Every single second you spend pausing to second-guess an idea, you are actively killing the energy in the room. You're breaking the flow. This four-letter acronym became the literal operating system for his entire creative life.
So DOTS isn't just a saying, it's a whole belief system. It all starts with this idea that momentum is the only thing that matters. Not how complicated the track is, not how perfect it sounds, but simply, are we moving forward? Then you've got sonic transparency, which is all about getting your ideas out of your head and into the world clean and fast before you have a chance to mess them up with doubt. A huge piece of the puzzle is radical egolessness. It's not about you, the creator, showing off. It's about serving the artist, making them comfortable enough to do something incredible. And all of that means treating the studio less like a museum for perfect artifacts and more like a laboratory for the vibe.
Okay, but here's where it gets really good and really practical. He took this big, abstract idea and turned it into a real, repeatable system he could use every single day. He basically turned the magic into a machine.
And this is exactly how he did it. First up, template optimization. He never starts with a blank screen. His sessions are already loaded up with all his favorite sounds and settings. Why? It kills decision fatigue. No time is wasted scrolling through a million kick drums, he can just capture an idea the second it hits. Second, the 10-minute clock. He literally gives himself a hard deadline to get the core of a beat finished. That pressure is strategic. It forces him to blow right past his inner critic. This leads to impulse harvesting, treating every tiny little idea as precious and getting it down immediately. And finally, the brilliant part that makes it all work: edit slow. The creation phase is pure chaos and energy, but the mixing phase, that's totally separate. Slow, deliberate, and clinical.
And another key part of this machine was just radical transparency. I mean, think about it. Most top producers guard their secrets like their nuclear codes. Kenny, he live streamed his entire process on Twitch for the world to see. He chose volume over exclusivity. He was building this massive body of work instead of hiding away trying to craft one perfect album. And this wasn't just about sharing, It was about holding himself accountable to the process and building a whole community around this idea that creativity isn't magic, it's work.
And the result of this whole momentum machine? Over 700 tracks. But listen, this number isn't just about quantity. You should think of it as 700 plus documented moments where creativity won the fight against doubt, all powered by this one simple system.
And just look at the kind of artists who were drawn to this process. We're talking Vince Staples, FKA Twigs, Denzel Curry, Freddie Gibbs. I mean, these are some of the most forward-thinking, creative voices in music. They all came to the cave because they wanted to tap into that raw, unfiltered energy that his system pretty much guarantees.
So what was the ultimate payoff of the Kenny Beats rule? It wasn't just about him building a successful career for himself. It was about fundamentally changing the entire culture of how music gets made. Through his YouTube series, The Cave, he completely reinvented what a producer could even be. The show, with the neon lights and these insanely fast-paced sessions, became this huge cultural touchstone. It turned his studio into one of the most important creative hubs in the entire country. He proved that a producer wasn't just some tech nerd hiding behind a mixing board. They could be a host, a collaborator, an architect of the entire vibe.
When you boil it all down, this is his real legacy. He took that old romantic myth of the lonely, tortured artist, and he just shattered it. He replaced it with a brand new model, a fun, collaborative, high-energy world where the only goal is to capture a moment of pure, unvarnished energy. He showed a whole generation of creators the incredible cost of overthinking.
And this is where the story turns from his journey to ours. Because an idea this powerful is way too important to be kept locked up in a recording studio.
So let's make this really personal for a second. Think about that one thing, that email you keep putting off, that project you know you need to start, that tough conversation you've been avoiding, all because you're waiting for the perfect moment. What would actually happen if you applied the Kenny Beats rule to it, right now? What if you set a timer on your phone for just 10 minutes and forced yourself to get a first draft done, no matter how messy or imperfect it is?
Look, this philosophy isn't just for making beats. It's a universal tool for anyone who's ever been stuck in that trap of perfectionism. By intentionally picking up the pace, you're not giving that little voice of doubt in your head time to even chime in. You stop being a victim of hesitation and you start becoming the master of your own output.
Let this be the final thing you take away from all this. Stop chasing the myth of perfection. It's a moving target that's specifically designed to keep you from ever starting. Instead, focus on building momentum. Because that momentum, that forward motion, that commitment to just getting it done, that is the real code for your greatness.